Guys, so today I'm going to talk about time management. I think that's one of the biggest struggles that I've encountered in my years of leading other leaders is time management. How do I decide what gets the best of me? How do I decide I only have 24 hours in a day? How do I decide what I do with each of those hours? I mean, we live in a fast-paced society. It's go, go, go. It's very demanding. There's people pulling at you from different places, lots of good things to be involved in. And I think I found that most people, especially people with leadership in their blood, find themselves involved in a lot of different things because everybody's looking to be led. So when you're in leadership, you're asked to be in lots of things. So you have to make the decision on the daily. What gets my time today? I've got 24 hours. I got an hour for this, an hour for that. And a lot of times we find out that we are in so many things that we're not really giving all of ourselves to anything because we're just kind of torn in pieces. So I actually think the problem goes deeper and further back than just the decisions that you're making today with your hours. God revealed to my heart something about the way that I make decisions that has been really beneficial to me in making my decisions in the future. So I'm hoping that this will also be that for you. I think that we are at a place in our humanity where we kind of just do things most of the time. We don't really ask why, we just kind of do. Like, have you ever gone to get your breakfast in the morning and you got your cereal out the cabinet and your milk out the fridge, you pour your bowl, and then you go to put the milk back up in the cabinet or the cereal in the fridge, and you're like, well, oh, wait, what am I doing? You're not really thinking about what you're doing, you're just doing it to do it. I think we've kind of gotten that way with our decisions, from the big to the small, of like, oh, well, when you graduate high school, you go to college, and when you graduate college, you get a good job, and you have a wife and a kid and a picket fence, and so we kind of just go with the flow. We kind of just do things. So in 1 Corinthians 9, Paul talks about people-pleasing, but he does it in a different way because people-pleasing is usually not a good thing, and it's still not a good thing. But listen to what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 9, verse 19. He says, though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. To the Jews I became like a Jew to win the Jews. To those under the law I became like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so as to win those under the law. To those not having the law I became like one not having the law, though I am not free from God's law, but am under Christ's law, so as to win those not having the law. To the weak I became weak to win the weak. I have become all things to all people, so that by all possible means I might save some. I do all this for the sake of the gospel, that I may share in its blessings. Now, on the surface, this kind of looks like people-pleasing because our fakeness even, like Paul's saying, I become like somebody under the law, although I'm not under the law. I become like somebody that's weak, even though I'm not weak. But the words that stuck out to me in this passage when I read this a couple years ago was, so that. I do all this so that by all possible means I might save some. See, Paul had something at the base of all of his decisions that drove the reason he made the decisions he made. And it was so that people might be saved. I don't think we do this. I think we just do things to do them. We just commit to things because they're good things. We don't ask ourselves why are we doing it. That's what I've done in the past. But we need a so that. I want you to look at your schedule. Sit down with your schedule and look at the things that you're involved in, the things that take your time, your time commitments. And just go back in time and say, why did I sign up for this? What was my so that? Jesus says, seek the kingdom first, and all else will be given. So that should be our base in our decision-making process. And here's a good reason why it should be our base, because we have a good God that wants good things for us, because God has a so that in His plan. So our so that is that people might be saved, that people might come to know God, that the kingdom is first, and that's because God's so that is us. In John 10:10, Jesus says, the thief enters only to steal, kill, and destroy. I came so that they could have life. Indeed, so that they could live life to the fullest. In John 15, Jesus says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vineyard keeper. He removes any of my branches that don't produce fruit, and He trims any branches that produce fruit so that it will produce even more fruit. Jesus wants you to be fruitful. He wants you to be full. He keeps going in verse 5. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, then you will produce much fruit. Without me, you can't do anything. If you don't remain in me, you'll be like a branch that's thrown out and dries up. Those branches are gathered up, thrown into a fire and burned. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask for whatever you want, and it will be done for you. My Father is glorified when you produce much fruit, and in this way prove that you are my disciples. I have said these things to you so that my joy will be in you and your joy will be complete. See, that's what God wants for us, and that's why our so that needs to be kingdom first. All of our decisions, from the biggest things, what am I doing with my life? What's next for me, to the smallest things, even to I think about it when I get up in the morning and I go to my closet and I grab a shirt to put on. So that, what does my shirt say that someone might see? I've had lots of times where I had a shirt and somebody said, what's that shirt mean? Or, hey, you're with Young Life? I had somebody in Young Life, and it leads to a conversation for the kingdom. I realized that God cares about what I wear. All of our decisions, biggest to smallest, should have a so that. So sit down with your schedule, look at the things that you're involved in, that you're committed to, and ask yourself, what was my so that? And if you've got some so that's that don't make sense, that aren't kingdom related, you probably should X them off of your schedule, so that you might be full in your love for God and in your love for others. And in turn, you would be full in your love for self, because God's so that can't be complete unless your so that is in line with His.